porn stars, unsigned bands, pro wrestlers. You've come to the right place. The Jiggy Jaguar Experience. The Jiggy Jaguar Experience.
Well, it is the Jiggy Jaguar Experience each and every Sunday on 990 WBOB. Also, the mix on Tuesdays. And you can find us each and every day on our website, JiggyJaguar.com. We have a lot of different things going on today. We are going to go to our first guest. She is going to join us. Well, we're going to go to our first guest, Andrew, then our second guest, Marla. And we are going to go to our first guest. He is going to join us here on the old Skype. Yes, the Skype-a-rooney. We have got our first guest. He is going to join us here in just a few moments here on our big broadcast, coast to coast, border to border on iHeartRadio today, also AMFM247.com, and 990 WBOB today. And we are going to go to the old Skype, the old Skype-a-rooney, and Andrew joins us. How are you, sir?
Good, man. How you doing today?
Pretty good, actually. You have got quite the musical background here. Tell us a little bit about how you got started doing the music thing, brother.
Yeah, I started playing music, I guess when really the intro to music for me was middle school. I was like band kid, played saxophone when I was 11, 12 years old and just kind of came up doing that thing. And when I got into high school, started noticing a lot of other kids and stuff doing bands and starting bands and things. Early 90s, a lot of cool music happening at that time. And
that's awesome.
Decided that was going to be my thing too, So I started experimenting with guitar, using that sort of thing, and started a couple bands, made music, and then, through high school did that. After high school, tried to continue the dream, as it were, and just kept writing songs and had a band early 2000s through, 2010 or something called Sway. It was like a shoegazer dream pop band, really blurry textures and guitar stuff that
cool.
That we got a little bit of popularity, but still definitely underground thing. But and now today I've been just kind of doing my own thing and recapturing the saxophone part of it. That was a big part of my musical upbringing, and incorporating that into Field Plan, which is my current project.
Fantastic. So your music is tremendous. Tell us about the production process and where you get your ideas from, all this.
So for me, I kind of look at making music like playing with Legos. So I'm one of the new school computer-based music guys that really centers a lot around my musical stuff around sampling. And in general, I really love synthesizers. I love just making little doodads here and there wherever I can kind of make a musical statement, like even on my phone or iPad or any place that I can collect little recordings, samples, my own little things that I make. And then I just kind of save these things up, and I take little musical chunks of things and I experiment by putting them together. And a big part of what I do is there's a little device from a company called Teenage Engineering. They make a little synthesizer called an OP1, it's really becoming legendary now, but it's a 4-track machine, a synthesizer, a sampler, all in one. And that thing, over the past, probably 5-6 years now, that thing has been instrumental in me doing what I do, because it's like a little musical notepad. It's like a scratch pad that I create little things, save them for later.
That's awesome.
Come back, mix them, and just, so when I say Legos, I'm taking little blocks of things that I make here and there. I put it together and, experiment, and some of them become songs. Some of them become things that I just delete from my hard drive, at some point. So, yeah.
So tell me about some of your musical heroes and influences.
Well, so many, right? Like any artist or whatever, you're going to have so many influences. But for me, I don't know, I've just been reflecting a lot lately on, my musical beginnings. And a saxophone player, I grew up loving David Sanborn, the sound of his sax, and it was just really instrumental to really making me love music and, kind of guiding my way that way. And when I said I grew up, musically in the early 90s, I started high school in like 91 or whatever. And at that time, there were just so many cool bands that were coming out. I mean, I was just in love with Sonic Youth. Found out just a little bit later about My Bloody Valentine, which was just like mind blowing. Between Sonic Youth and My Bloody Valentine, I mean, my mind was just splattered everywhere. I mean, just the incredible textures and the things that they were doing that were just so ridiculously artistic really caught me. I mean, I loved other things. I mean, I really, like everybody else, dug Nirvana at the time. I loved that kind of, that post-punk, just kind of, who gives a craft spirit, and just make music in your garage and do it. It just, that DIY thing that was happening in the early 90s just really, I caught the bug. It affected my spirit. And there's too many to mention. I mean, I came up, my parents, got me into like Fleetwood Mac and the Beatles and just so much pop music from the 70s. And as far as early 80s stuff, I mean, I kind of consider myself an 80s kid, when I was real young. All that pop music that came up on the radio was hugely instrumental. I mean, anything you can think of, if it was on the radio, I was listening to it and I was influenced by it. So it just, for me, anything that's good, anything that just kind of catches you, not necessarily because of the hook or the chorus, but just sounds and textures, emotions, anything like that becomes an influence for me. And that's the same for, I think, all musical artists, right? We all just kind of pull from wherever, we hear things that inspire us. So Talking Heads, oh my God, just so many great things that just really sunk in and inspired me over the years. But yeah.
Fantastic. So how do people get in touch with you on social media and the websites, all these things?
So for years now, I mean, I've been on Twitter since like 2006 or 7 or something like that. And it's been a love-hate relationship. I'm starting to fall out of love with Twitter. Actually, that's been the last few years, but I'm on there. It's FLDPLN, which is like my own little shorthand for Field Plan. So you see FLDPLN around. That's me. That's Field Plan. At Field Plan on Twitter, at FLDPLN on Instagram, which is pretty much where I'm at mostly these days. I like the fact that I could just make little musical ditties here and there and put them up on Instagram, and seems to be like a cool community there for that sort of thing. I have FLDPLN.com, fieldplan.com, which is more or less a link to my Bandcamp where I have my music up there for grabs for people to check out. So I would just say anywhere you can find FLDPLN when you Google it, I think I might be the only one around that really uses that for anything. So if you search that out, you will find me.
Fantastic. So where do you see yourself in 5 years musically, my friend?
Well, I'm really trying to be more productive. I'm an artist who, over the years, I have more ideas than I actually have anything to show for it, and that's pretty common, I think, with a lot of people. But for me, I would really like to expand more on the ambient side of things in terms of what I do, because using a saxophone as a textural instrument is something that, I mean, it's not that it's not been done, but it's not been done or explored, I think, as much as it could be, and I'm really going hard on that. I really see myself doing a lot more ambient experimental stuff using the horn as a texture along with my synths and all that. And I'd really like to just put out as many releases as I can. I just put out a physical record for my current album, Escalator. And so I've got a vinyl copy of that's out now. But in terms of just putting releases out there, I just like to do as much as I can, if that means just mostly digital, because it's so damn expensive to put out a record, a physical vinyl record. It's just out of pocket, almost.
Oh my God,
punishingly so.
Yeah, it is quite the deal, I'll have to say.
Yeah. So I mean, I just want to put more out, and I'm absolutely planning to do so. Probably have a follow-up release coming out in the fall, maybe early winter, and just kind of go from there. Expand on the saxophone shoegaze thing, as it were, sax gaze, that I've had people mention it as, which is kind of funny, but just going to try to be a lot more productive and get stuff out there.
Awesome. Well, we are going to do this. We are going to play some of your music. I really appreciate you making time for us today and being on our broadcast. But before we let you go, how do people buy your music and get involved with what you're doing, my friend?
Oh yeah, so thanks for doing that, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate the love on this. Best way to get in touch with me, like I said, Instagram. But if you want to check out my music directly and find out my new album, which I'm really proud of, just go to FLDPLN.com. There's no hyphens or anything, so it's short for Field Plan. FLDPLN.com, and you will find what you need there. You can order vinyl there. You can get digital, whatever you'd like, and I hope you guys dig it.
So, for people that have never heard you before, who would you compare yourself to?
That is a tough question for any artist. I'm influenced by so many people over the years. Comparing myself to things, I would say with this record, certainly, if you're into Slow Dive, My Bloody Valentine, Cocteau Twins, anything that's, Pale Saints, anything that's like classic dream pop, shoegaze, and you dig those sensibilities, you like the way those songs come off, I think that there's a pretty strong chance that you're going to enjoy what I'm doing. There's a lot of stuff on Ghostly International Records, artists that, I think do things that other people have told me, oh, that's kind of similar to this sort of thing a little bit, I think if you're into dreamy music, you like textural music, you like ambient stuff that sounds big, and dreamy is really the best way to put it. That's all I can really say. If that sounds something like that could be your taste, I would check out Field Plan. Saxophone is a component of the music that I'm doing that I think is new, more or less, to that genre for the most part. And I use it in the same way that people would use a synthesizer or even guitars for shoegaze, where I make chords by overdubbing, by layering and looping saxes. And it just makes kind of an interesting texture. So, yeah, if you're into any of that shoegaze stuff, early 90s, mid 90s stuff, you definitely want to check out Field Plan. Or if you're a fan of my stuff that I did as Sway, this is more or less an extension or an evolution of that stuff. So I recommend you check it out.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate you doing this, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate you having me on. Everybody be safe.
Appreciate it, brother. There he goes. And we are going to go to Escalator right now on our big broadcast.
From the moment you arrive, every one of our 106 stores and restaurants offers so much variety and with such style. A friendly, relaxed atmosphere to shop in, and events on the mall every
Oh, well, the jig, jig, jig. The jig is a jag. Oh, well, the jig, jig, jig. The jig is a jag. Oh, well, the jig, jig, jig. The jig is a jag. Jig, 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 jig.